Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Arish. Good morning, Elroy. Good morning, Kartavya. Good morning, Abhijit. Good morning, Ritesh. Good morning, Adesh. Good morning, Chandrasekhar. Good morning, Aditya. Good morning, Pratham. Good morning, Danish. Good morning, Aditya. Let's recap what we have gone through. Good morning, Siddesh. So we have considered the we have started with the post-Harappan age, which was extended from 2000 BC to 1000 BC. There were different regions with various regional cultures, those who had come into existence, and therefore it is also called as Chalcolithic culture, right? And all these cultures were not urban cultures, rather they were all rural cultures. And later on we have considered Iron Age, who had extended, which had been extended from 1000 BC to 500 BC. So why it is called the Iron Age? So the implements made up of iron, and therefore it is known as the Iron Age. It was divided into 3 sub-ages. The first sub-age from 1300 BC, because worldwide it has the use of iron started in 1300 BC to 1000 BC, which we can consider the first sub-age of Iron Age. It was extended, right, to the minor regions, extended but limited to the minor regions. For example, as far as our country is concerned, so Halur, right, particularly Halur district in Karnataka, you can consider. The second sub-age extended from 1000 BC to 800 BC. Again, it was extended on a complete Gangetic region. And obviously, the third sub-age extended from 800 BC to 500 BC. So it was extended to the major regions. Right? What were the evidences of this age? So as far as literary evidences are concerned, you can consider the word called Ayas, which was in the Rig Veda, or you can consider the early Vedic period. So Ayas stands for metal. So in general, Ayas was used for metal. But later on, if you consider in in latter Vedic period, and this was associated with another word. For example, Lohit Ayas or Krishna Ayas. That means what? The copper, Lohit Ayas, and the Krishna Ayas. Right. So two different metals. What about the archaeological evidences? So use of iron started about 1000 BC. Right. So that was evidence, or have the archaeological evidences, and it was extended about 600 BC. Right. So the cutting dense jungles by use of the implements made up of iron, right, for the for purpose of land, use of land for the cultivation. So iron technology had enhanced the agriculture, right. Further, it had played a great role in urban revolution, right. So in short, you can call the Iron Age had brought not only the technical change, but also the cultural changes of the dense human life, right. So that is what you can always consider, and therefore you have considered the iron using cultures. So there were three different iron using cultures known as painted gray wave, painted gray ware, shortly termed as PGW culture, right? Who was it was uh, extended from 1000 BC to 600 BC, and its identity is the painted pottery by a gray color. Then later to this, there was northern black polished ware, NBPW culture. So the identity of this you can consider is the pottery polished by black color, right? And its time period you can consider from 600 BC to 300 BC, right? And then next one in this is megalith culture. So in the megalith culture, you can uh, consider mega as huge, and stone is lith is nothing but the stone. So huge stone culture. So what was the identity of the megalith culture? So it is nothing but the graves and the memorials. So graves to bury the dead bodies, and memorials, right, in memory of these dead personage, right. So you can have the graves and memorials. Later on, we have moved to Harappan, which is also called as Indus civilization. So its period was from 2500 BC to 1750 BC. So the oldest name to this civilization was the Indus civilization, but archaeological point of view, its name should be Indus Harappan civilization, because Harappa was the first site discovered, and from that name, it should be the Harappan civilization. Geographical point of view, its name should be Indus Saraswati civilization, because most of the civilization or settling of the people is so the most of the settling of the people was on the river of the Indus and Saraswati. So geographically it could be Indus Saraswati civilization. But anyway, we can call it as either Harappan or Indus civilization. So the Indus civilization was the term which was first used by John Marshall. Therefore, right now you can consider that this Indus civilization, right, which belongs to the proto-historic period. Or and northern part of Maharashtra. So all these provinces or states you can, it was spread over. Now, heartland of the civilization across the axis of Harappa, Ghaggar, and Mohenjo-daro. If you have the access, so it was right, the heartland of this particular civilization. Then, if you consider the important cities, right, as far as the Harappan civilization are concerned, so among these, the capital cities you can consider Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Right, so these were the two cities you will be always considering as the capital cities. These some other cities you can must have done. Right, so there were Balapur, Lothal, Kuntasi, right, some other cities, right, Dholavira, Banavali, you can consider in this particular thing. Fine. What were the common features of the major cities of this civilization? So here you can consider the common features of major cities as the systematic town planning, right? So which had a grid system. So this town planning system, the systematic town planning had constructed, right, using the bricks which were burned. So using burned bricks, the town planning had been done. This planning was also consisting the underground drainage system and the fortified citadels, right? तटबंदी असलेले किल्ले किंवा you can consider gras. What were the main crops? So according to the evidences, rice was the main crop. Along with the rice, other crops were there, such as dates, mustard, sesame, cotton, right? So then along with the crops, cultivation and husbandry. So there were some of the animals in the husbandry, and these animals were sheep, goat, buffalo, dog, cat, pig, deer, tortoise, elephant, camel, tiger. So this civilization was familiar with the tiger, but they were unfamiliar with the lion. Right? And if you consider the extensive inland and foreign trade, which was flourished during this particular period, right? So I think till this point we have considered in yesterday's session. Now, okay, we can consider. Okay, so next point you can consider, as I said, so extensive inland and foreign trade was flourished, right? So what about the export? Right, so their exports, right? So here you can consider they had agricultural products for for the purpose of export. So what were the agriculture products you can consider in? So there were cotton goods, there were terracotta figurines, right? Terracotta, चिनीची भांडी जशी असतात तशा प्रकारची भांडी तुम्ही समजू शकता, right? So terracotta figurines, then pottery, certain beads, right? You can consider. Then some kind of let's say ivory products. Then you can consider the copper, right? So these were the products for export, right, which have been used, right? So you can consider you can consider the export of what you can consider export of the Indus civilization. So here you can write that is agricultural products, right? So agricultural products, you know what were there. So whatever the crops you can consider. Then cotton goods, then terracotta figurines, then pottery, right? Then pottery, only bones. Yes, hastidanta, right? Ivory stands for hastidant, elephant teeth. Someone has written it exactly. So these are the cases you can always consider, right? So एखाद्याला पाहिजे तर लिहून ठेवा, right? हस्तिदंत, right? So that is what you can always consider. Then, as I said, so export of the we can consider export of the Indus civilization. Fine. So agriculture products, cotton goods, terracotta figurines. हे कळालं ना? बघा तुम्ही खेळणी असती ना, खेळणी, right? So you can consider that kind of things. त्याला तुम्ही पुतळे पण म्हणू शकता, right? So pottery हे तर माहितीच आहे, right? So that is nothing but the मातीची भांडी किंवा कुंभारकाम, right? So त्याला पाहिजे असेल तर fine. So these were the exports. Now, a very interesting feature of the Indus civilization was the, iron was not known to the people. So you can consider, fine. So iron was not known to the people of Indus civilization, fine. So you can always consider this particular thing, right? So second thing you can always consider here is the Harappans were the earliest people to produce the cotton, right? So it was called at that time Sindan by the Greeks, right? So instead of cotton, it was called Sindan. And as there is no evidence of coins, right? So Bartons assumed to have been the normal method of exchange of the goods, right? So vastuच्या बदल्यात वस्तू, fine. So no evidence of coins. Then, as I said, the Lothal, one of the cities, right, was an ancient port of Indus civilization. Already we have considered as important port cities, right? So it was an ancient port of Indus civilization. So the Indus civilization was primarily urban, right? You can consider, and there is no clear cut evidence of the nature of polity, but it seemed that the ruling authority of Indus civilization must be to the class of merchants. त्या व्यापाऱ्यांनी तिथं राज्य केलेलं असावं, असं एक what you can consider एक अंदाज असू शकेल, but it was not having a very clear cut evidence of it. Then the Harappan people don't worship the god, right, in the temple, right? So you can find no temple, right, in fact, in that particular period, right? So an idea of their religion is formed from the from the statues, right, and the figurines found, right? So though they have no temple built, or there was no temple, that means you can consider the no idea about their religion, but whatever the statues or the figurines found in, right, so from that someone can have the idea about the religion of the people, right? So the most commonly found figurines at that time was the mother goddess, which is called Matri Devi or Shakti, right? And there is evidence of the prevalence of this particular worship, right? So you can always consider, right? So what do we have considered? Right. So these people were not known to the iron. So okay, not known to the iron. Then Harappans were earliest people to produce. Harappans earliest people to produce cotton. To produce cotton. It was called by the Greeks a Sinden, right? So called Sinden by Greeks. Right? You can consider, because see in the trading, right, बाजारात कोण होतं व्यापारी? Greek people, right? So no evidence of coins. No evidence of coins. Right. So normal method of exchange of goods. Right. Therefore, there was normal method of exchange of goods. Exchange of goods. Right. Then you can consider Lothal was ancient port of Indus civilization. Okay. Lothal, it's a name of city, right? So ancient port of Indus civilization. Indus civilization. Then again in this case, there is no clear cut of evidence of the nature of polity, but must have, right? So ruling authority, right? Ruling authority must be to merchant class. To merchant class, right? Okay, if anybody wants, you can have. Done. I suppose you must have done. Okay, fine. Thank you, Aditya. Fine. So it must be to the class of merchants. Fine. So Harappan don't worship. Okay, I will. Right. Don't worship. Okay, thank you. So Harappan don't worship. Then how you can think about their religion, right? If they don't worship, so you can have no god, or you can have no temple, right? Don't worship, therefore no temple, right? No temple. But idea of religion. So what religion they have followed, right? Or obviously the group of people must have followed a different kind of religion. So religion, it would be from the statues, right? Or the figurines. Statues or the figurines they have used. Fine. So you can consider. So what was the commonly found? Right. So commonly found figurine, you can consider is the mother goddess. Is mother goddess, right? Which was also called as Matru Devi or Shakti, right? Or Shakti. Fine. So this is what you can consider about their worship and the religion. Fine. So if you consider, so this was the uh, mm, evidence, right, of prevalence of the worship. Fine. What about the male deity? So this is obviously female deity you can consider, right? So there was a chief male deity, right, as the Pashupati Mahadev, right? So the lord of animals you can consider represented in the seals as sitting in yogic posture, right? So he is always surrounded by four animals, right? So the chief male deity they have considered, or the chief male deity for them, right? If you consider the female deity is this mother goddess, right, or Matra Devi or Shakti. So likewise, the chief male deity was the Pashupati Mahadev, and that was having the uh, what we the posture called that was having the yogic posture, right? So it was the lord of animals, right? And it was always surrounded by four animals. So what were these four animals? Called elephant, tiger, rhino, and buffalo, right? So these were the four different uh, animals which were always surrounded by the uh, yogic posture of the, what you can consider, Pashupati Mahadev, right? So that is the, so this was the prevalence of the phallic worship, right? So you can always consider. And therefore, Shiv Shakti worship, which was the oldest form of worship in India, right? So it appears to have been part of religious belief of Harappan, right? So Harappan people must have worshipped Shiv Shakti, right? So therefore, it is considered as the oldest form of worship, right? So this is the case you will be always considering. Now, okay, so I can consider the chief